Alright, here we have a 2017 GMC Acadia, 77,000 miles. Customer complaint, CEL came on test drive. So I have already diagnosed it and found the problem. But it is a interesting one, and the first time I have run across it on an Acadia. So first off, I wasted an hour doing my normal diagnostics to try to figure out these codes. I checked my purge valve. It was not leaking through, because if that's stuck open, it will have a vacuum leak, and can cause lean codes and a misfire. So that was good. I thought I heard a vacuum leak up here, and I still kind of think I do, but because when I would wiggle this line here that goes down in the intake, it would change in sound. So there was some sort of vacuum leak here. And now I don't know if this was coincidence or not, but when I would push this, and I had my scanner right here, and I was watching the fuel trims, and short term jumped from -15 to -25 just from holding this down. Now I think it might have been a coincidence to what the real problem was, which I will get to in a second. But I took this out, put a new O-ring on it, put some silicone around it. Really didn't help anything. And I was pretty convinced I hear a vacuum leak. So I took this hose and I took my MAP gas cylinder and stuck the head in there, stuck this hose down under the intake and around through here to see, because I thought maybe the intake gaskets was leaking. And I had it right here, and on bank one, now bank one's back there, bank two is up here, but I had it right here. Bank one fuel trims, with me applying gas, went from like -15 to pegged out positive 39 and 40 on short term and long term. But I think that was just a coincidence too. Now, but I was like, all right, leaking intake gaskets, and I was getting ready to call it intake gaskets, but I was like, hold on, I am by the bank two side, not the bank one. Why did that happen for bank one and not bank two? So then I went around and tried to get further, couldn't get no change. So that was bank one pegged 39 and 40 on long and short term fuel trims. So I was thinking that didn't make sense, and I created a vacuum leak trying to get stuff to change, trying to get the scanner data to change. And I even added, in my vacuum leak, I added propane or MAP gas. The scanner was just like stuck, couldn't get it to change. So I backed out of it in the scanner, shut the car off, turned it back on, got the scanner reset, because something was like glitching. The data wouldn't read right. Then on my fuel trims, they read 0, 0, 0, and 2. So I was like, that can't be right, because that's like perfect, 0, perfect. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Identifix it and see if there's something strange going on. Because right before that, the bank one was, the numbers were high, bank two numbers were negative, and I looked at my oxygen sensors. Bank one was pegged high at 900 millivolts. Bank two was pegged low at 0.9 millivolts. So one bank was pegged high, one bank was pegged low. So I went to Identifix to see if there was any help, and thank goodness there was, because it's one of them strange ones. And I've had, this is what, in my opinion, Identifix is excellent for. Normally, I don't even come to Identifix anymore, you know. Years back, I went to Identifix for everything to give me a good lead. Now, I pretty much can get by without it, but some strange, weird things, you know, it's still very helpful. Okay, so we have a Traverse 16 here, running rough, PO300 P2196, PO171 PO133 and PO171, which I had 3 of those codes. So there is a technical service bulletin, 18-NA-009. Inspect for power steering hose leaking into engine harness. And then it tells you to check for vacuum leaks, check for a leaking purge valve, which I actually already done both of them. Okay, this bulletin only applies to 2016 and 2017. And this is what the problem was. So, long story short, let's see if there's anything in here that you should know. Well, I guess you can pause and read this if you want. Alright, so here, cause. This may be caused by a power steering leak from the power steering hose above the harness for the Bank 1 oxygen sensor, contaminating the O2 sensor wiring, causing readings to be skewed, which is exactly what was going on in this case. This may also be a repeat concern. To correct the condition, inspect the power steering inlet hose for any signs of leakage must be performed. If power steering fluid is found leaking into the hose going into the O2 sensor wiring harness, it will be necessary to replace the components listed below. 1. Replace Bank 1 oxygen sensor. 2. Replace power steering gear inlet pipe / hose to stop the leak. And 3, replace the engine wiring harness due to power steering fluid contamination. So, and there is the part numbers, I guess, for the hose and the sensor. So right back in there, can I get a good view? Let me try to zoom in here for you. Can't see real well, but okay, right there is the power steering hose. You see it's all wet, and then right below it is the harness, and that's all oily. And then the top of the valve cover right there, to get a good view right there, you can see the top of the valve cover is a little bit wet right there. That has been dripping down on that harness. Now I will raise it up in the air and show you. Okay, Bank 1 is the firewall side bank. Now, right there, you can see oil coming out of that harness. And right there is the O2 sensor. Right there is the sensor pigtail. And you can see the oil right there. You can see the oil covered on the sensor itself. What I am going to do is cut that harness up there. I'll probably cut it right there where it's dripping out. Open it up right there. Cut it up top. And then I'm just gonna squirt a bunch of brake clean down in there, followed by shop air. Do that a few times. Clean out that harness. And replace the O2 sensor. And replace that power steering line. So hopefully this helps somebody. Thanks for watching. Hope you all have a great day.